What's up, everyone? Mike from What the Fun. This debate section is from our latest episode of Test Your Might, the weekly video game debate show. The full episode is found on any podcast app of choice with Apple and Spotify links down below. Thanks for watching. Enjoy.
And Cicero gets the power on this last one because you chose last one. So this is it. Now, like I said, I wasn't giving you any hints other than the way I was breaking up the fights. Hopefully you picked up on those hints as mooing and cows, because this debate was brought up by ChatGPT. And here we go. Are you ready? You're going to get to choose, Cicero, if you'd like the first option or the second option. And then the other person will get... Well, I'm going to explain the options. And you get to pick from your files.
Okay. All right. Last week I just had
not
to
just
pick.
randomization.
Right.
Just,
No random here. No
Okay,
random here. Yeah, I'm giving you the options. So, in Diablo 4, players are feverishly looking for a secret cow level. And Blizzard has announced there is one. So that makes players even more crazy. Searching for the hidden things to bring up this cow level. Now, if you know from Diablo 2, the cow level was something endgame that was very hard, and it would test your skills. So, I ask you, should the cow level in Diablo 4 be a serious endgame challenge or a hilarious bovine bonanza? Something funny instead of serious. Which option would you choose?
I am going to choose the funny bovine bonanza.
Okay. That leaves the serious challenge for you, Brian. Let the debate begin. Is the cow level in Diablo 4 destined for epic seriousness or utter madness? Cicero, go ahead.
Well, I mean, so the thing about Easter eggs that are expected is that the whole point is that they're supposed to be meta. And once we know that it's meta, then so then you've got to lean into the fact that it's silly. And with that silliness comes hilarity. So I think they should really make it slapsticky, but make it also hard as hell, right? Make it incredibly difficult, but also make it hilarious. I think about South Park, the fractured butthole, right? That game could get hard, but was hysterical. That's what Blizzard should do with their bovines. Make these cows cackle. Cackling cows. Come on, Brian, get serious.
Alright,
Why
so
so
I will.
serious?
One serious thing is you just took both answers there, which is, I mean, to be fair, the actual answer to why ChatGPT is bad at asking questions, but that's a whole other issue altogether. So I'm instead going to talk about what the focus should be. Because I agree, there will be a moment of levity, right? Because that was the experience of the original cow level in Diablo. It was like, yo, these are cows, these aren't demons, which someone's obviously never dealt with a naked cow if they don't think they're also fundamentally demons. But then what made it stick wasn't just a bit on the internet, which was easier to do back in the 90s too, right? A bit on the internet does not stay like it used to, right? We live on a world of like hyperspeed. And so what's going to make it stay is that it's actually a challenge, and it's actually going to have a competitive score mode. And so however far you get on this particular like, cow challenge will be ranked against your friends. And so what's going to make it stick is the same thing that has made like competitive scores a thing since like the 80s, right? In a lot of arcade cabinets and a lot of online stuff. Because yeah, it's gonna be a funny bit, otherwise you'll do it once, you'll never do it again. If it becomes competitive, if you get into things like speedrunning being related to it, see it GDQ do a cow level competition, that's how it's going to stick and be memorable in a way that just, again, isn't going to be just a note on a wiki article.
Well, the point is absurdity, right? And you want it to be absurdist. And if the way you get people to replay it is for the prize at the end to be worth the trouble. Speed runs are speed runs. That's fine, right? Like, yes, and leaderboards are important, but in Diablo, we're not playing for leaderboards. We're playing for loot, baby. And that's how you get people to come back if the loot is great. And they will come back and they will suffer if the loot is great. And you know what's better than suffering is silliness. So if you're suffering while enjoying yourself, then you're more likely to come back for it as long as the loot is worth it. And that's why
I agree. The loot is really important.
That's why the silliness
and the loot is a
important.
serious fundamental element of Diablo. So your argument of why it's so important, you're not talking about the funny anymore. You're talking about the funny as a balm to get to the serious part, which is that loot treadmill.
Well,
that is the actual material, serious core of Diablo. Is you need more loot, you need a shinier number, and if in the sense in which it's good, it's not going to be that it's funny, right? It's not going to be that you get like a chicken head. It's going to be the fact that it is better than your plus 18 longsword, right? It is going to be that it is seriously going to improve your game and seriously make you get more damage per second or more tankability,
right.
Or, extra skeletons. It'll be the actual material serious elements that'll make it stick, even in what you're saying.
Right.
The humor.
Yeah, but you know what?
Is meh.
So, but there have been plenty of, like, if you've seen the more recent Dungeons and Dragons movie, right? We laughed our way through that movie, but they were trying to get serious loot at the end of it, right? Like that's part of the mission is like, hey, we're out there, we're trying to get loot. So yeah, I mean, it's not like we just put a feather into your bucket by saying that the loot is serious. Like, everybody knows that, but let's have fun while we're doing it, right? And that's what we're talking about. That's what I'm talking about, is that this is going to be fun. So it's not just going to be, oh, let's run through a dungeon or let's run through a stronghold because that's a daily that I've got to do, and I got to see if I can get this particular piece of loot or whatever. It's let's do this cow Easter egg because it's hilarious and I get this loot. Yeah, it's hard, but it's so funny. And I laugh every time I play it, right? Every time I go and I kill it, there's a cow pie that pops out, and I'm like, oh, right. And I gotta tip the cows
I'm
over.
curious. Have you time in a game encountered a joke repeatedly and actually laughed every time?
The same.
And do you think Blizzard is good enough comedians to write that?
Same. Similar jokes told different ways. Like I said, South Park, Stick of Truth, and Fractured.
But that's not the same joke.
Fractured Butthole. No, I'm not saying it's the same joke, right? But
so there's like 800 separate cow levels.
No, there's not 800 separate cow levels.
That?
But there's like 30 different jokes that they could do, right? Like they have different death animations. There's all sorts of different things that they could do that would make it funny that you could go through and see. So there are plenty of games that you've played that have, canned animations that they go from being hilarious the first time you see them to progressively less funny to not funny at all to hilarious again, right? All of that goes, everybody goes through that cycle, and that, and that's just the way of the world. But this is going to be hilarious and is going to make you want to go back and play it again because it is funny and because the loot is good.
So I think
So I want you guys to just buff your own argument. Brian, for yours, talk about your ranking system or talk about how your mode level will be serious and end game challenging. Cicero, you go on to that. I don't know, you mentioned udders in the comical sense. Just go into that. No more fighting each other's. I just want to hear this last section here being about the buff of your own. Go ahead, Brian.
Yeah. So because Diablo is fundamentally a loot treadmill game, it is fundamentally a game about making the number get bigger. the what hooks people into the game, especially as they're trying to do seasons and things like that, is going to be have to find a way to make the numbers keep getting bigger, right? In the standard, Diablo likes way. And so the number getting bigger isn't just the number on your particular weapon. It's adding a new way for the number to get bigger, which is in competition. It is adding a way for not just the number gets bigger in an abstract, it's the number gets bigger than, Justin's or Cicero's or Brian's or Mike's. And that then pushes someone to play more seriously and more consistently to put in the time to get good. And so it forms more of a cycle to keep people in the infrastructure that they want to keep them in. So Diablo 4 doesn't become a single play game. So it becomes a game that has seasons in that same way that you see with like a Destiny, right? Where there are new seasons and new raids and new whatever. And a big part of that is people trying to compete for first clears on raids, people trying to compete for quickest clears on raids, and having actual rewards for that.
All right, Cicero, go ahead.
Well, funny things are funny because they're funny. And when you're sitting around and you're creating these elements, you're thinking about, all right, well, where's the comedy in it, and I'll make it more difficult. But again, it's death animations, it's the different attacks. One of the attacks will be like milk from an udder that will be poison. Like there will be cow hooves. There will be you can hit a dash or something that will tilt a cow over, and that cow will become vulnerable because it's tilted on its side, and you can kill it. All of these things will be available that will put a smile on your face while you're playing this mode. And the thing that's great about it is they can do things like partner with Chick-fil-A, and you can have the Chick-fil-A cows in the game, and they can, there's all sorts of goofy things that you could wind up adding to that going forward in different seasons, or at different moments you could have special events that happen. But again, it's this isn't a part of the game that's supposed to take over the game. It's just a portion of the game, and so they're going to spend some time on it to make it cool, and maybe they'll update it every now and then. But it's not going to be a focus. It's not going to be a focal point of the game.
Okay. All right. Utter madness. Yes. Weaponized udders. All right. Yes. So, Cicero, you did say that what's funny is funny, which is a really easy way to say like you watch the same movie over and over because it's just as funny as the first time. Right. Okay. But, Cicero, I've got to give it to Brian because his ranking and replayability is huge. Even if it's something that's not the focal point, like you stated, the fact that there is a leaderboard is huge. And the rewards that come after that are even huger. I don't know if that's even more huge. That's a better word.
Huge!
Yeah, it's huge. Brian, that's insane. I love it. Point for you.
Stole that idea from Neon White. Great game.
Neon White? Okay.
Yeah.